evening, everybody. Beautiful mackerel sky sunset here with some mid-level clouds working in across the mid-south. Some bubblers of some storms that are trying to form southeastern Louisiana into southwestern Mississippi. I'm keeping a close eye on. Possibly could intercept those later on tonight, maybe near the Jackson area. But really, my sights are on tomorrow. SPC has maintained a slight risk. And honestly, I'm not even sure just how big this event's going to be. It's possible that storms may not be as widespread as we think. There's not the most favorable upper level pattern in the world with the shearing out upper level system. I think that the January 1st and the 2nd system is a little bit deeper, more powerful, kind of a tandem trough ejection, digging that closed upper low off Baja, and then slingshotting it across the central southern U.S. But I do think there is a threat of tornadoes, and I'm trying to decide whether I work that surface low, the track across northern Mississippi, maybe even southwestern Tennessee, eventually into central Tennessee, northwestern Alabama. That's the surface low track where I think that there could be a little bit more favorable low-level shear. Or do I play the potential for renegade supercells within that Cape blob, kind of that higher instability, pretty stout elevated mixed layer over upper 60s if not 70s dew points is going to create a pretty big blob of instability across southern Mississippi into southeastern Louisiana. And there could be a convergence band as well ripping off the Gulf. Basically just a little bit of a confluence line, relatively clear skies, a lot of instability off to the east, some cloud cover to the west, and that differential heating boundary can be the source of just enough confluence to fire isolated supercell storms, and those would be renegade supercells that would develop tomorrow evening, and those can move up into the Tuscaloosa area as well. But many of the models, though, they just have kind of very weak synoptic scale ascent, not much lift, not a big trigger mechanism in the upper levels for the storm system. But I do think that surface low track is probably the most likely scenario to see a tornado. Yeah, it's just a question of whether the instability is going to make it all the way up to that surface low track. But I am interested to see the new model guidance that comes out at 0Z tonight, because if the convective allowing models show a lot more in the way of storms, more widespread convection, then I think that we're probably going to see an upgrade to an enhanced risk, introduction of that 10%, maybe even a hatch area for significant tornadoes tomorrow. And the main reason I'm going live, though, is to show you the beautiful mackerel sky that's happening. These mackerel sky sunsets are the best. Mid-level cloudiness comes in, setting sun sets, and then that little gap between the clouds and the horizon allows the sun to shine in, and it can illuminate the underside of those mid-level clouds, bright pink. And that's happening as I'm heading westbound here on I-20. And I'm definitely in full-blown storm chase mode. Maybe even the 30th in there, potentially the 31st in Arkansas. Might also go look for some crystals in Arkansas too. Maybe try to find some monster quartz up there. And then I'm going to anticipate the mega tandem trough ejection on January 1st and 2nd. And I'm going to be streaming live this whole entire storm chase tomorrow and the overnight. Maybe one of those days after, maybe both, into New Year's Eve. And then definitely January 1st and the 2nd time period as well. So definitely stay tuned to our weather reports here. I'll keep you forewarned in advance of these storms, do tandem weather briefings and also live streams. Definitely anticipating a beautiful sunset here, though, in this mackerel sky. Woo! Starting to get some of those pinks on the underside of those clouds. I think I'm going to get, yes, indeed, the pink hues are beginning to show themselves. Who knows? It could be kind of a false alarm. We'll just have to see. see how awesome this thing gets. You see that severe weather is not in the news just yet. I've noticed here on YouTube when I stream to news and politics, they often will blow up when weather or tornadoes are big in the news, but if it's kind of a smaller event or it's not being hyped as much, maybe not an enhanced risk a couple days in advance, then it really doesn't get that traffic pump to it. I know the winter storm is kind of getting hyped to death out there for the Midwest, eastern Nebraska to Iowa. I did get the milk. I was talking about 15 years ago, everybody. Grass soon becomes milk. Have patience. It is becoming milk here as I'm heading westbound on I-20, living the dream, storm chasing, looking for gems, smoking meat, launching rockets, deploying gravitrons, holding my car together with flex tape. Life is good. Thank you everybody for joining me for this live stream as I'm heading out to the target area. I'm trying to get out there in advance so I can wake up and do the morning weather briefings tomorrow, maybe get in a 10-mile run, and then I can clear out my adrenal glands so I can be ready to chase in the afternoon with a sharp mind. And I'm thinking, problem though is tomorrow I could be storm chasing relatively early in the afternoon, especially if I go after that southeastern Arkansas into northwestern Mississippi, that surface low track. Those storms could be developing relatively early in the day, and I think that they could develop a tornado threat as early as 1 to 2 p.m. even. And that mode is going to eventually spread into central Tennessee, likely leaving behind a bit of an outflow boundary that's probably going to not push too rapidly off to the north because the low-level jet isn't ripping or anything. It's not like a 70-knot low-level jet slamming into that outflow boundary, so it may not blast northward too fast. Then I might have to drop down toward Jackson to Meridian to Tuscaloosa to catch that boat of renegades that could develop along a confluence line from southeastern Louisiana through central southern Mississippi, and that line could spread into central Alabama in the overnight hours. Eventually maybe even pushing up into northern Georgia, potentially. I did see some soundings that are supportive of tornadoes. And in fact, most soundings across this multiple state area are supportive of tornadoes if the storm can form. But that's kind of the big question mark with this setup, is just how many storms are going to form. It's kind of just a weekly lifting atmosphere of the synoptic scale, as we've been talking about for days. We thought that this is maybe going to be more of a lower end preceding system, and then the big tandem trough injection on January 1st and 2nd, picking up that closed upper level low off Baja and then ejecting it. Slingshot method more or less across the central and southern U.S. for that event, but you never know. It's winter time, and usually this anomalous warmth like this comes at a price. It's supporting some big-time dew points, basically the rocket fuel in the Gulf of Mexico that's going to fuel these severe weather events if they do. One of these, or maybe both, are going to support some tornadoes, and sometimes these numerous discrete supercells where you can get individual storms feeding off of the warm sector. Instead of basically a rapidly advancing squall line, you'll just get isolated storms with those prefrontal confluence lines and isolated out in the open warm sector. Boy, it looks like this sunset is not going to be happening. Wow. Sometimes, though, it'll kind of fake you out like this. Everything will go gray, and then that sun will set below the horizon and illuminate everything bright pink. So we'll just have to see what happens here. Yeah, some of these models are showing a nice strength. along the Missouri, Iowa line, maybe up even to northwestern Illinois. I think that's going to be that January 1st and 2nd system. Could be a nice stripe of snow up there. Looks like a couple feet of snow still to fall between now and the early part of the year in Colorado too, starting to build that snowpack up there. Yeah, thank you everybody for hitting that like button. Not really anticipating a very exciting stream on my drive out there. Driving out to the Target area. Probably just gonna eat a beef burrito on a Taco Bell. You know, just heading westbound, getting into position. I am watching some of those bubblers though right now that are trying to develop into storms across southern Mississippi into southeastern Louisiana. Maybe some of those convergent areas there on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain, maybe Terrebonne Bay. Could potentially be enough just to force little bands of supercell storms that could move east across the target area. So the HRRR was showing maybe even a couple supercells this evening in southern Mississippi that I'm going to be watching for. But I've got to get a throw for streaming these storm chases coming up. I'll be chasing tomorrow. I do think that the Storm Prediction Center will probably upgrade that to enhanced risk. I think that the short-range models are trending toward a stronger system, a larger low-level jet axis that's more connected with that main 850 low that's going to be up in Missouri. And I think that that southern stream, 50 knots at 500 millibars, and you have about 70 dew points in the south-central U.S. during the winter this time of year. I think that usually just sets the stage for big-time problems for storm chasing, severe weather. Basically, in general, get a lot of warm, moist air beneath relatively cold air that's seasonably cold this time of year. That creates a lot of instability. Elevated mixed layer just above the ground. Dry slot coming into the mid-levels of the atmosphere as well is going to create some instability out there. Got my drone, I've got the gravitron sensors, I've got flex tape so I can mount the gravitron sensors on a pole or a tree, maybe a bridge in front of a tornado, anything like that would work. And the key is to get multiple gravitrons deployed in front of the tornado. I'm about to post a video that shares some of the data that we collected in the front of that derecho. Basically shows a rapid pressure rise just ahead of that shelf cloud with gravity waves riding all the way up. Not as much of a pressure fall though because the tornado cyclone was relatively weak behind that main shelf cloud. Then I thinking about heading up into Arkansas to start looking for crystals if there is a window in between one of these storm chases. May head out there to try to find some quartz crystals. So stay tuned for that as well. Extreme Naturalist, Green Timber headed westbound on I-20. Storm chase mode though tonight. I might be on a storm even this evening. Columbus, Meridian to Jackson, that kind of triangle area is what I'm watching this evening. Some non-zero 0 to 1 kilometer EHIs, 1 to 2 or so. And EHIs are energy helicity index, basically a composite index that factors in surface-based gate and storm relative helicity over the given layer. If it's a 0 to 1 EHI, you're factoring in that 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity. 0 to 3 EHI are factored in that 3 kilometer layer. Basically assesses how curved your photograph is in the northern hemisphere. We're going to wait on some of these peaks out here in this mackerel sky. In general, when you get altocumulus like this, it does mean that it's probably a weakly rising environment that's ahead of that lead trough axis. That's what's pulling a lot of this moisture northward out ahead of the trailing system. And that's making it possible to pump that moisture northward. Boy, look at all that snow in the Colorado Rockies there. San Juan's. Even the Front Range getting in on some of the action. The Vail Pass out there getting ripped. So definitely catching up on some of the snow. Not only the atmospheric river and that event just hammering California up into coastal Canada, but also Colorado, Utah now getting in on the action. You're live from Dominator 4, everybody. You can see the Denton hood some bubblers there to the northwest of Baton Rouge. Starting to move into the southwestern corner of Mississippi. Those bubblers could even have an outside threat of a tornado or two as we're getting really close to sunset out there now. So I do think that it is going to be more of a nocturnal severe weather threat, but possible I can even get on some of these storms out of that triangle that I was telling you about, Jackson to Meridian. Or do I just play further north and work that surface low track tomorrow? That could be so favorable. Low level shear across northern Mississippi. Tomorrow should be an interesting live stream of the potential of some daytime supercells. I bet they probably fire at about 2 to 3 p.m. coming out of southeastern Arkansas across northwestern Mississippi. Short-range models have been a little bit more robust with that convection along the surface low track, northern Mississippi, northwestern Alabama. That's the northern mode moisture nodes then surging up the Mississippi River Valley, meeting up with those storms, and they could become surface-based right along that surface low track as well. So that'll be something to watch. Woo! Feels good to be out here mobile, free as a bird, flying westbound on I-20. Thinking about getting a third mobile device for live streaming so I could have phones mounted all around the inside of the Dominator for different streaming angles, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you, Thomas. And supports this live storm chasing, live weather briefings. I'm a full commit now to my social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube. No distractions out there anymore. National Geographic we decided not to do a season 2 for Storm Rising. Catch season 1 on Disney Plus still, but I don't think we're going to be doing a season 2, unfortunately. I'm a full commit here to social media live streaming, supported science. Flex Tape sponsored science as well. And made possible by my live streaming platforms, Facebook supporters and YouTube. Got gravitron sensors in the back, ready to deploy to get that high resolution pressure data to show gravity waves that are going to be shipped out in front of tornadoes. We've used a lot of delivery mechanisms to send sensors into tornadoes, whether it's a model rocket, whether it's a ground-based probe that's pretty heavy that you often need a couple people to deploy, or whether it's a tank-like armored vehicle like a Dominator driving into a tornado directly with sensors attached to it. Well, we kind of figured out that having a really minuscule probe wouldn't impact the surrounding environment. We could use it as a stake probe. We can mount it to drones, deploy the stake probe array in the path of a tornado, as we've shown you on some of those diagrams that I've drawn out to show you the Dominators launching rockets into tornadoes, balloons flying up, stake probe array mounted in front of tornadoes to map the surface pressure fall. So that's basically the goal with our science mission. Hoping to get back out into the Dominators again. Dominator 3. I'm in Dominator 4 right now. Had a lot of exercise leading up to this. I biked 40 miles the last week, ran 20 miles. Push-ups, pull-ups, ate a lot of fiber, got a lot of rest over the holidays, and now it's time to reactivate storm chase mode, wake up from this hibernation and intercept these tornadoes. Gotta find a way to stay in shape on the road too, maybe pack a cooler and make some sandwiches with a lot of hummus and fiber on it. Continue to do those cardiovascular exercise, long runs, keep the pipes cleaned out. And that's the key to really prolonging the storm chasing career. Treat it as a full body sport, full body activity, and then you can storm chase well into your 80s and 90s with medical advancements. beautiful sky, mackerel sky. One of my favorite skies out there. Oftentimes, though, it's associated with a reduction in surface-based instability. Sometimes it can even kill some of those storms. Yeah, I'm going on a gem hunt in. These things are starting to look supercellular in southeastern Louisiana, just south of that Mississippi border. Keeping a pretty close eye on it out there, everybody. Kind of keep a close eye on that convection in southeastern Louisiana there. Some of those beans could start to rotate. Pretty decent low-level jet, like 40 knots tonight. So be keeping an eye on these storms. Maybe I'll do a slow pickle down toward Meridian, Mississippi. Environment's quite favorable down there as well. In those storms. That storm's actually rotating pretty good. Just northwest of Jackson, Louisiana. There you can see that area of rotation. Just to the west-northwest of Jackson. It's already a supercell storm down there. You're seeing a live look at this mackerel sky sunset. I'm in Alabama right now, watching these supercells starting to bubble over southeastern Louisiana. One supercell that has some broad rotation northwest of Jackson, Louisiana, that is just south of the Mississippi border, is definitely of interest to me. Probably gonna head south toward the Meridian area, and I do think it's possible that some of those storms can mature into supercells and even develop a tornado threat even just after dark as they move through southern Mississippi. Maybe that triangle between Jackson, Meridian, and that triangle where they so often get tornadoes. That's the area that I'm watching. It's a marginal risk though tonight because the coverage isn't expected to be that substantial. And I'm on my way out, mainly targeting the big bigger severe weather threat tomorrow that might even get upgraded to an enhanced risk, depending on if the convective allowing models trend toward more widespread. Gentle, not a big system that's kicking out, kind of a subtle jet stream. There is strong flow in the mid-levels, a lot of bulk shear, a lot of moisture as well, with those dew points rising up into near 70. And it's possible I could even be storm chasing during the daylight hours, like early afternoon tomorrow, as I first intercept those storms, moving out of eastern Arkansas into northwest ahead of this system quite a bit. I think we're going to get a sunset here with this mackerel sky that shows that there's a little bit of rising motion in mid-levels of the atmosphere right now. And I am going to try to get on some of these nocturnal storms if I can. Woo! Look at that sky. Beautiful mackerel sky out here, one of my favorite cloud patterns. See how repetitive and beautiful they are. And then I'm going to go try to hunt for some crystals, I think, in Arkansas, in between storm chases. Oh, wow, look at that mackerel sky. Look at the reflection off the Dominator 4 hood. Wow. Oh, yeah. You're looking at a beautiful mackerel sky sunset ahead of multiple days of storm chasing ahead. Possibly even getting on a storm late night tonight. Stay tuned for my live stream as I get a little bit closer to these. Watching that storm to the northwest of Jackson, Louisiana. Incredible sky. Look at the pink just above the mackerel sky. Mackerel sky coming in gray, pink, higher clouds above it. Hello, Houma, Louisiana. Hello. Beautiful area. You're probably watching some of those bubblers initiate to your northwest. Some showers moving through. Probably feels tropical. Probably some pretty rapid southerly winds evident just about a kilometer above the ground with that low-level jet ripping. I do think a majority of the severe weather should be to your north and east, but still keep an eye out until that convective line moves through. Really until the Gulf of Mexico gets cleared out of its moisture. Again for tuning in to my drive out. On my way westbound to Chase, many days in a row it appears. Tomorrow I got inside between the surface low track or Renegade supercells in the open warm sector. That January 1st and 2nd system in Jackson. I do expect quite a bit of snow on the northwest side as well. Somewhere there, southeastern Nebraska, central, southern Iowa, maybe even northern Missouri, northern Illinois could get hit depending on that exact surface low track, of course. And I do think there could even be a strong tornado or two somewhere tomorrow. Even though that low-level jet is north 40 knots, there is some more directional shear, forcing a near due easterly storm motion, slight north of the due east. And it looks like a general area of 200 plus 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative shear. Stout elevated mix layer as well coming in at the mid-levels. That's that dry pocket of air in the middle troposphere that comes in over top that moisture, steepens those lapse rates, and generates instability necessary to get these updrafts. January 1st and 2nd system does have some similarities in the trough ejection shape as December 10 and 11. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a quad state supercell or anything like that, or that's going to hit the exact areas. I'm just seeing meteorological similarities in how it picks up that closed upper low off of Baja and then slingshots it across the central and southern U.S. Some similarities in general with the evolution of that trough. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a quad state supercell, but it does mean, I think, that there is a potential for a pretty significant severe weather event on that day. And not to overlook tomorrow's severe weather threat. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center has a large slight risk, a large 5% tornado probability, but there definitely is the potential for an upgrade to an enhanced risk tonight. And the fact that those storms are bubbling and they're actually maturing in southeastern Louisiana is definitely a sign that there could be more widespread convective development tomorrow as well, with even a little bit more uplift, a little bit more moisture, more heating during the day as well, more instability. So it could be a sign of things to come for the chase tomorrow as well. And I might be storm chasing tonight as I get closer to Meridian. If those storms continue to mature as they're moving into southern Mississippi, then I'll certainly intercept them. But stay tuned to those watches, especially the warnings tonight. I'm not sure if a tornado watch is going to get issued or not. It's possible the Storm Prediction Center might think that the threat is just a little bit too isolated in nature to warrant a watch. But Team Dominator still watching it. Streaming live this beautiful mackerel sky out here. And I'll be streaming live storm chase mode tomorrow. Yeah, a lot of times these tornadoes happen at night this time of year, especially in the winter. Naturally, I have shorter daylight, so you're going to get more tornadoes at night. But also the low-level jet ramps up at night. Get stronger mesocyclones are able to drill through very shallow, stable layers, concentrated right near the ground, and that's how it happens. Original plan was to head down to the Alamo Bowl, watch Oklahoma dominate Oregon, but because of this severe weather pattern, I know that this anomalous warmth usually comes at a price. This severe weather, deeper moisture over the Gulf of Mexico, I decided that it was more important to stream live. I do everything I can to try to increase awareness across the mid-south and the southeastern U.S. It's December and I'm driving short sleeves. Yesterday I was running outside with no shirt, running shorts, middle of the night, evening, and it's just crazy that it's December. Even though I am in the southern U.S. and I know it happens this time of year, I think that it still feels weird. Maybe because I'm a Michigander, grown up in Michigan, but I think that usually this really warm weather like this time of year comes with a price. And I think that price is going to be severe weather. No interior lights available here in Dominator 4. Those burnt out a long time ago. Mainly because of the salt water, I think, as chasing hurricanes over the years. Definitely does a number on the electronics in Dominator 4. And I'm going to be deploying the gravitron sensors, though. I've got those in the back charged up, ready to deploy. I'll be flex taping those to a pole or an item in the path of a tornado. And now I'm in Alabama as well, on Interstate 20, just crossed into Alabama. Beautiful state, back into the central time zone. Definitely watching those bubblers down into southeastern Louisiana, into southwestern Mississippi, though. Those actually have tornado potential. as we're now getting to be after sunset. That low-level jet's increasing out of southeastern Arkansas into northwestern Mississippi, maybe even southwestern Tennessee. And I'm kind of torn between targeting the surface low track further north across northern Mississippi, southwestern Tennessee, northwestern Alabama, or do I want to target the open warm sector, or that Cape blob and the prefrontal confluence lines, southeastern Louisiana into southwestern southern Mississippi. I think the surface low track is probably the way to go. What's up, Eric? I'm in Alabama heading westbound, dominating. I'm going to do some gem hunting in Arkansas tomorrow. I mean, maybe not tomorrow, but after the severe weather event, maybe on the 30th or 31st. Try to find some monster quartz there, but mainly storm chasing these events, possibly every day. Live streaming, intercepting tornadoes, deploying gravitron sensors. Probably going to get an upgrade to an enhanced risk tonight, late night tonight in the Outlook. It's a weird setup though, because the upper levels are, it's not like a big trough that's ejecting. The upper levels are pretty subtle in terms of the lift, and that's probably why the models don't have a ton of storms, but they do have some storm developing with that environment, and any storm that's able to mature within that warm sector is going to have the potential to rotate and also have tornado potential. Yeah, you can kind of see the mid-level lift, subtle lift of this mackerel sky even that's ahead of that lead shortwave that's going to lift up toward the Great Lakes region. I'm going to continue to give you updates, and then when the 0Z models come out tonight, I'll give you another update. And also, if I ever get within range of any of those supercells in southern Mississippi tonight, I'll also give you another update. So stay tuned. Never stop chasing. Check in on some of these bubblers. Oh, they're tightening. Rotation now just to the west of Norwood. There it is. So that's becoming a supercell, and it is developing tornado potential. That white line right there, that's the Louisiana-Mississippi border. So I think we're going to see that thing go severe, if not tornadic, here shortly. Just south of the border, but it is getting that classic bean shape. Hell, the thing might even have a tornado on the ground now, just to the west of Norwood, Louisiana. That's just west of that. Just south. Right now it's probably crossing the Mississippi-Louisiana border there, but that storm I do think has some tornado potential. Streaming live here as I'm heading westbound toward the target area. Could probably intercept these near the Meridian area maybe later on today. Or do I want to go to northwest, northern Mississippi and play that surface low track? Oh, the couplet on the last scan is still there. Not as tight as it was. Definitely does have a mesocyclone to the west of Norwood. That's the Mississippi-Louisiana border. Watching that area for strong rotation. Environment is supportive of a tornado threat. Waiting for that thing to go tornado warning. You can definitely see that thing turn right even. Look at that supercell starting to organize and get that right mover appearance there. Moving just sliding north of the Norwood zone. So I mean, I could be chasing some storms through late evening tonight as these continue to mature, moving into southern Mississippi. Look at that one turn right along that border. It's going to be an issue right there, I think. That's a sign that tomorrow there's probably going to be quite a few renegade storms. That couplet's getting better organized as well. Just to the south of the Mississippi-Louisiana border, there you can see that couplet. Having the strongest rotation of anywhere in the country right now, that little storm. Pretty high echo tops too on it. Oh yeah. Definitely tell it's a rotating storm. Look at how high the echo tops are all around it. Nicely tilted storm. The green are the higher echo tops above about approaching 40,000 feet. So you can definitely tell the rotating updrafts penetrate further up into the troposphere. Woo. Woo, 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 woo. are struggling further north of that one. Just that one beam. Right over the Mississippi, Louisiana border. It's going to pass just to the north of Norwood, Louisiana. Just near to the south of Centerville, Mississippi. Might already have a tornado. I mean, it's a pretty broad coupling, but it's a persistent mesocyclone, compact storm. Watch out between Centerville and Norwood there for that mesocyclone to move through. I'm several hours out from that, but I'll try to chase anything that I can get my hands on. I'm able to see that thing in the daylight hours. I don't know if there are any storm chasers down there right now or not, but then it has some pretty fantastic structure on it. Might even already have a tornado. It does have a correlation drop. So look at that thing. We might already have a tornado straddling the Mississippi-Louisiana border there. It's like a correlation drop at the very least. Possible tornado, small, brief tornado. Watch out, Centerville, Mississippi area. It's not warned yet, surprisingly. Oh yeah, that's a tornado, folks. See that correlation drop right there? It's probably lofted some fall colors. Pretty sure that's a tornado. The Weather Service does not see it yet. It's brief at least, but keep an eye out there, just near to the south of Centerville, Mississippi. I do think that there is a tornado in progress. That's north of Norwood. Or not. It's persistent and a very tight couplet. There, so I'm pretty sure that was a tornado just northwest of Norwood, Louisiana. Closing in on that area. It's going to pass halfway between Centerville, Mississippi, and Norwood. I got on that tornadic supercell last spring near Centerville, Mississippi. A brief tornado possibly just happened there along the Mississippi-Louisiana border. We saw it supported with a correlation drop. Just tweeted it, so we might see that tornado warning get issued here pretty soon. That was a tornado. Probably just a brief tornado, weak tornado, lofted some of those fall colors. Classic bean on reflectivity there. Well-defined bean-shaped supercell. You can even see that RFD gust front bulging out a little bit more. Gotta be kidding me, 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 gotta be kidding me. Still there. That correlation drop. I think that still is a tornado. Look at that. Just southwest of Centerville. Seconds. Look at that little yellow area. That's the debris and centers that are a little bit larger than raindrops. Could be Louisiana border now. Might just be a little hail core too. Boy, does it look like it. Yeah, it's a tornado thing. Looks like it's intensifying. Look at it now. That debris ball appears to be getting even more substantial, unless it's just a little hail core. Good rotation southwest of Centerville. Definitely seeing a persistent couplet. That's kind of the telltale sign of this. Probably a brief tornado there southwest of Centerville. Or at least has the potential of producing one. It could just be the low-level mesocyclone, but when you have that correlation drop that's so co-located with that couplet, I think that was a brief tornado. I might have lost my board too, who knows? Gotta get visual on it. It's crossing the road right now, south of Centerville, Mississippi. That's pretty rural terrain down there. And the debris is gone. Might just be the hail core. Boy, that sure looks like a little tornado to me. Coupling is still there. Still some strong rotation on it. I don't think they're going to issue that tornado warning. The couplet's starting to weaken a little bit down there. It's crossing between Centerville, Mississippi and Norwood right now. It's definitely a pretty long track supercell though. Look at that. Still going, very persistent mesocyclone. Looks like it might be trying to cycle. It's ramping up again in circulation. Just south of Centerville and Norwood area, just on the Mississippi side. Probably won't do anything. They may not warn it. It might just be too small. Maybe it's in the rural areas. I'd love to be on it though to see what it looks like underneath that cloud base. I'll tell you that right now. Alright everybody, I'm going to go live as I get a little bit closer to these storms. Stay tuned for my feed. Never stop chasing.